Eksis no problem. If you had a gun, shoot him in the head.
Ladies and gentlemen, and viewers around the world, welcome to the World Esports Championship 24 for IESF. As the anticipation is building up for the playoff stage for Mobile Legends Bang Bang. So, let's start. So, over the past 2 days, we have 16 countries from across the globe, all right here in Riyadh, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, divided into 4 groups, all battling it out to get their spot in the next round. So, on day 1, at the higher seed finals matches, resulting with 4 countries securing their spot in the playoffs. But in day 2, the same thing happened with the lower seed final matches. Also, 4 countries securing their spot in the playoffs. So, let's take a look at all the groups and the teams that qualified, shall we? In Group A, we got Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Indonesia, and Guam. Saudi Arabia claimed their spot from the higher seed, while Indonesia advanced from the lower seed. In Group B, we got Philippines, USA, Malaysia, and Morocco. And we saw Philippines advancing as the higher seed winner, with Malaysia making it through the lower seed. As for Group C, we got Turkey, Argentina, Nepal, and Kazakhstan. After an impressive run, Turkey qualified as the higher seed, with Argentina following from the lower seed path. And for Group D, we got Colombia, Mongolia, Ukraine, and Bahrain. The higher seed round saw Mongolia advancing, and Ukraine made a strong showing to qualify from the lower seed. So, ladies and gentlemen, viewers around the world, we got 8 countries all advancing to the playoffs. All that taking place right here in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia for the WEC 24 IESF. So, let the journey continue, and let's start.
Trying to serve up distraction to allow Miku to activate, but there is nothing Solkai. How is this even possible? And also that
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to WEC ISF 2024 as we make it into the playoffs after a grueling group stage earlier on. We are going to have 3 amazing matches ahead of us, but once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome because you are now watching the English broadcast for MLBB Men's. And I'll be your desk host for the day. My name is Eterna, and on the panel we have Reptar Renmar.
It's okay. It's a running joke of my career now where I can't decide what name to call as. But hey, I'm Renmar. What's up, guys?
Yes, we have Renmar.
Thank you.
You're trying. You're trying.
I keep trying, guys. Renmar as well as Leo. Welcome, guys.
What's up? Glad to be at your service once again. Good to be back here in Riyadh, and I'm happy to see the top 8 in great shape as well. It's been a grueling couple of days of the groups, and now it's a best of 3 all the way to a best of 5 single eliminations.
So we are going to talk about the brackets just a little bit, I think, later on, as we also will take a look at today's schedule. But just to remind you guys, ISF, there are going to be matches that are non-streams that we are going to be casting over. So if you guys want more updates on that, you guys can check it out on the official website, isf.gg, to keep yourself updated. But again, like I mentioned earlier on, there are going to be 3 matches ahead of us. We're going to start in the quarterfinals. That later we will be making our way into the semi-finals. So there's going to be a lot of drama, a lot of action today especially, and I think are going to be taking a look. Coming into ISF for WEC in particular, we had 16 qualified regions that were able to qualify from their respective regions as well. After the 16 went up in the GSL format of the group stage, we are now down to our top 8.
Yeah, Group A, surprisingly, it's Saudi Arabia coming out on top with a lot of mystery as to how exactly they were able to sweep Indonesia. But hey, Indonesia still made it to the next phase. They did end up going through as the 2nd seed. But yeah, the Saudi Arabians are looking great, especially since last year they did end, as if I'm not mistaken, the 3rd best team in the world. They are looking for their Saudi Arabia revenge tour here for this year's IESF.
Call it the home court advantage. Group B, on the other hand, has Team Philippines coming through as the 1st seed. That's your defending champions from all the way last year as we held the finals in Romania. And 2nd seed would be Malaysia. It was in these very same grounds that Malaysia took home another major MLBB championship, and they took a rough road down in the lower seed, but that's the beauty of this GSL format. You just basically win 2 series, you're in. You lose 2, you're out.
And it's going to be a little trickier as we get into the playoffs, right? Because it is going to be a single elimination. As we also take a look at Group C. So 1st seed, we had Turkey, and 2nd seed, we had Argentina.
I'm a big fan of Turkey, man.
Same.
Turkey is bringing out the big guns. These are the same 5 sent out for every single major international event in the past 3 years.
Yeah, that's why it's no surprise that Turkey was able to dominate Group C. But of course, Latin America is constantly a rising region, and Argentina will be representing Latin America well as the 2nd seed entering Group C. I'm excited to see how else they would have improved, considering that they will have to go up against Philippines later in the day.
Ooh. Things are getting even spicier as we also take a look at Group D. Now talk to us about
Story as Turkey. Mongolia have the same, well, now 4. They did shake up a little bit of their roster. It's the same 4 dudes, better known as IHC in the other international outings for MLBB. But I have high hopes for this squad. We've always said Mongolia is a rising star. Mongolia is a real threat, like the dark horse of MLBB sports in every sense of the word. And they're coming through Group D as the 1st seed alongside the 2nd seed in Ukraine, who I think just haven't been given enough opportunities.
Yeah, not a lot of opportunities. And Ukraine, I mean, has been like constantly been like the top two teams in Europe. They've constantly gone up against Turkey in that region. 2023, they were able to defeat Europe in those finals. 2024, it was Turkey who got them back. So even though we don't think of them as an MLBB country, they are making a name in their own right. But yeah, lack of opportunities, as you mentioned.
So we talked about the group stage earlier on, and now we're going to center focus back onto the playoffs. So once again, we do have 4 matches, all in the quarterfinals, and whoever is going to be able to their respective matches will move forward in the semifinals. And I believe our first match of the day is quarter number 4, right at the bottom there. Indonesia versus Mongolia. But here it is, the official schedule, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, there are going to be 3 matches that aren't going to be on broadcast. So if you guys go ahead, once again, check out IESF.gg to keep yourself in the loop. And meanwhile, we're going to now focus on to our first match of the day, our opening match of the day. Indonesia, one of the tournament favorites, going against the dark horse that you mentioned, Leo, Mongolia.
It's interesting that these two teams, they're sharing a stage that they have shared in the past.
Yeah.
These are the best of the best when it comes to these two countries, Indonesia and Mongolia. And it's weird to say that this is just my opinion, all right? Mongolia's looking better. Walking into the quarters, I think Mongolia just looks better. Is that a hot take?
I think it is just a little bit of a spicy take. I think that's where we differ a little bit. Even though Indonesia did get surprised by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, there are still things that I'm seeing with the drafting decisions of Indonesia, how they're executing that. I still think that they are going to edge out over Mongolia in this one. But it's Mongolia. They've always been a region that's been synonymous with surprising opponents. As you mentioned, they're dark horses. So I'm not surprised that you feel that way about Mongolia and that's your hot take with them.
And at the, I'm throwing back to what the M5 World Championships last year. Was that last year? Yeah, it was last year in Manila. This squad, led by Ethan, all right, the Mongolians, they're known as a download team. They're happy with the best of 3. Luckily, we're starting with the best of 3 now. If they lose game 1, in my boots, I'm not trembling. I'm with the Mongolians. I'm like, it's fine. Like, this is what they wanted to do anyways.
so you think if ever that in game number 1 it doesn't go well for them, that there's a little bit of downloading behind the scenes.
They're sandbagging. I'm pretty sure that's still in there.
Yeah, wild cards in Kuala Lumpur. That's what you're. You know what? I see that happening. I see that.
So with that being the case, how do you guys think that they're going to be faring against Indonesia? And how do you think Indonesia fares in a best of 3?
I mean, when it comes to best of 3s, Indonesians, we see them as a region that when it comes to like best of 1s, like you think, oh, raw skill, Tex, you're gonna go ahead and edge out all of your opponents there. So if I'm Indonesia, best of 3, every draft has to be early game, mid game. You control that. You go.
So with that being said, we are gonna open up the official lineup for Mongolia right now, ladies and gentlemen. So let's see that soon, because again, a lot of people, they are anticipating their performance for quite some time. You guys mentioned them being one of the main, I would say, main teams to look at, right? How are they faring? How are they adapting to the changes in the patch and the meta as well?
They are them.
They are them.
Even when they were new to the scene, I think they've always been tabula rasa. They've always been a blank slate. The one thing that we know that they can do is they can really get in there, play MLBB from the paint, you know, like from a losing position, and that they can change. I don't think there's any like hero pool or metagame specific differences that Mongolia loses on, like at best 50-50.
So let's take a look at their official team roster from Mongolia. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Garu, Forbid, Ethan, Exora, as well as Aizen. Now, talk to us about this lineup.
All right, so is Garu, all right? He looks, based on the gameplay that we've seen so far and the stats we've seen from Mongolia in WEC 24, he fits better. Not to say anything wrong about their former gold laner in Bebex, but I like how Garu actually lightens the load for Zexora and allows for Forbid and Ethan to be a little more, how do I say, to rotate a little more aggressively.
Yeah. This current metagame with a lot of the flexibility coming up, especially with the EXP lane pickups, even though, let's be real, it's mostly Hilda's, but creativity in the EXP lane will get rewarded. I'm looking at Ethan. What other heroes in your pocket do you have that you're willing to show out here that could apply pressure in the opposing jungle? When you're going up against Indonesia, you cannot just play a slow game. You're gonna have to play pressure and apply pressure somewhere else in the map.
SA Click to Change. SA Change Applement. SA Change Juicy. SA Change Great. SA Change Double. SA Change Futuristic Indonesia. SA Love Yourself KTNG.
We're going to take a look at their official team roster as well. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Indonesia. We have Luke, Albert, Sans, Keyboy, and CW. So again, up until this point, we have not seen Rez play in the EXP lane. It still will be Luke. But it looks kind of different here.
Keep on looking a little bit different too.
A little bit of a baby face.
A little bit of a switch up, but we'll figure that out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Fans know who they are.
Yeah, y'all know who they are, of course. We did mention when it comes to a team like Indonesia, you have to apply pinpoint accuracy to break their formation. You have to get through the wall that is the pokes and the crowd control of Sans and Keyboy, the mid laner and roamer of Indonesia. Eating heart of the rotation of Indonesia, you apply pressure in the river, how you poke them down so that you can advance a little bit further into their jungle to apply pressure into Albert. That's what you're looking for if you're Mongolia. If you're Indonesia, just play your game, man. Come on, you're the Indonesians. There's a lot of expected from you, and you are expected to deliver. So deliver.
Waja in the groups, when they went up against Egypt on broadcast, in what I would only assume would be the match that transpired between them and Saudi Arabia, I'd like to call what they're bringing surgical chaos. I'd like for you to have surgical chaos to answer said surgical chaos, because if you're not speaking the same language, you're just going to totally miss. And when you totally miss, Indonesia being the more aggressive team, the more brawly team, is going to come out on top. So Team Mongolia, I'd say be ready to step toe-to-toe with that. If you're a southpaw, all the boxing fans know, if you're a southpaw, you know, orthodox, and answer that way, because you know what happens when you're southpaw and orthodox, like you just end up butting heads. Yeah, that's no bueno.
So to speak on that, are you saying that they should match the aggression that Indonesia can have in their gameplay? Is that what we're looking at? Let's dive a little bit deeper. Like, do they control objectives? Do they draft for something a lot more early game centric? What are we looking at here?
Well, for me, the best teams right now with this current metagame know how to build advantages. Not necessarily just like, all right, let's farm up. Yeah, we'll see them the objectives, vision, cool, it's all fine and dandy. But then those little moments of, hey, we see the roamer, let's poke him down a little bit, so they're gonna think twice about how they're gonna be playing. You can't be one-dimensional if you're a team like like Mongolia going up against Indonesia. Again, you have to pick your battles. Accept that you will lose some, but if you're building advantage elsewhere, have a clear idea, not just around the center of the map, but knowing that your gold laner will be able to meet his power spikes as well. That's very important for them.
Yeah, I'd say avoid the 4-in-1. Avoid just waiting for Garu to be online and to get the 3 items that he needs and be part of fights come the second turtle. You can't just park the gold laner there. That's not how Indonesia's gonna allow for it. That's not what I can see. Like, if Luke gets his hands on the Hilda, he's gonna go ahead and run coast to coast and go check out, hey, Garu, how you doing? Like,
I actually like that you mentioned Hilda, right? Because we have seen some changes in the last patch that we had. We got a little bit of a glimpse on that during the group stage.
Hilda's so hot right now.
But like, what's changed, guys? Like, are we going to be expecting a lot more Hildas? Why does the Hilda work?
Yeah, mainly because like with the little adjustments into Kali, the little nerfs that he got, Hilda now is the best EXP laner. It's hard to build advantage against her. She will bully you in lane.
Tiga.
Satu is one.
I always count backwards.
No, but yeah, she is #1 right now in the EXP lane. So that's why earlier when we brought up the roster for Mongolia, I wanted to look into Ethan and how he's going to fare. Sometimes creativity is the best things that you can pull out as an EXP laner to go up against the meta EXP laners now. Because if you're not beating your opponent, you're in lane, you're beating them in a different aspect. Map presence, although funnily enough, Hilda's map presence is it's so great. So Ethan, come on, man, there's a lot of pressure on you in this one to give Luke a lot of difficulty in lane.
That's what makes Hilda so
hot,
broken.
Yeah,
I think it's just a perfect situation of the game evolving and the hero just staying the way she is. She's beautiful the way she was. And then the game just wrapped itself around that package and like, oh look, Khalid is good. How about you find another hero that rotates just as quickly, is sustainable, has solid damage, but doesn't fall off as hard in the late game.
So Weaver is going to be a hot pick. Like you said she was hot, right?
Yeah, she is.
Hot
So
pick.
hot.
So hot EXP lane. Now, we're gonna expect that the Hilda does get picked up, but the big question is, how do you counter the Hilda in the EXP lane?
In terms of the counters right now, there's no clear-cut hero that has come up. You can just mitigate what she can do.
Soft counters.
Yeah, soft counters, rotating into the EXP lane, not to necessarily take her down, because with Revitalize and how she can just play with shields in the shrubs, so that it's hard to take her down. But what you can do is just push her out of the game, make her uncomfortable, or make it so that you're winning in the team fights or skirmishes where she wants to be, that by the time the Hilda gets there, there's not much that she can do. So what you can do is to pick up mid laners as well that has strong slows, strong pokes, something that even with an increased movement speed, it's hard for Hilda to close the gap. Rock up in the meta.
I was gonna say, she can't touch you when she's mid real world manipulation. You're just swiping away, and the Hilda has to think, all right, do I keep attacking this Eve, or do I go change my target, go swing at the gold laner, go swing at the jungler? I think that's the one way to take down the Hilda these days. Like, don't even think of countering her with a pick. Counter her with your playstyle. Counter her with your gameplay. Counter her with map presence, because that's her #1 thing. If you can... right now, Eve is... she's another cat. You know what I mean? Like, these are the two big #1 picks from two. Because I was gonna say, when the cat is out, the mouse comes out to play. So find heroes that are mice. Find heroes that just come through the cracks. That's why Hylos is big these days. These are your top 3 picks, right? In your top 5.
Yeah.
Hylos, Eve, Hilda, what are the others? Gatot Kacha and
Valentina.
there you go. See, these heroes are either cats or mice in the current metagame, wherein, let's talk about that Eve Hylos situation. When the Eve drops the real world manipulation, if the Hylos on the other team, best believe the Glorious Pathway is going to follow through next. Because you want to let that sit where your allies can get out, or where you can lean hard into it, and the Eve's going to regret, all right, I should not have put this here.
So speaking of the Valentina, do you think that Valentina is the #2 most popular pick in because she's able to replicate the real world manipulation? Is there a different reason for that?
Well, there's a lot of power ultimates available for the Valentina now. We have to acknowledge that Joy has come back to the meta. And that's always been one of the best heroes that you can pick when you're going up against a Joy, because you can get her electrifying beats, it's a good escape tool, and even a good initiation tool for one Valentina to have. That's why Edith has come up, and why Valentina means, that means that Valentina has to come back in as well, so you can get ultimates. There's so many great ultimates right now for the best heroes in the meta that Valentina can just take.
Cat and mouse, Tom and Jerry, right? When you say Tom and Jerry, like, who's the bad guy? Who's the good guy? No one. They're both, you know, you both root for them.
Okay, Tom's just doing his job. Jerry's just a mouse. So I get it. Yeah, I get it.
See?
I mean, but doesn't Jerry usually like spark conflict? No?
Jerry just wants cheese, man.
That's true, actually.
He's an agent of chaos. Team Tom all the way.
Yeah, if you think about it, like, it's Tom's house. Like, he's the house cat.
That's true.
And that's why Hilda, I think, is the house cat, is because usually teams would not be afraid to pick her blue 1, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's a safe pick. Like, no one will ever punish you for blue 1. That's why when you give out the 2-pick swing on the red, that's where the real game starts.
Because this is why I think it's so peculiar coming into WEC, because after our playoffs in our respective regions, these are heroes that kind of fell off. I mean, other than the Gatot Kacha, we've seen the Gatot Kacha find a lot of prominence, but Suyo? Why isn't Suyo a contested pick in this top 5?
Suyo has slowly evolved to become not a... He's no longer just peanut butter. I talk about peanut butter.
Wait, what?
Peanut butter with everything. Think about it.
Celery.
Sure.
Peanut butter
Suyo
celery.
used to be, especially before the hot fix. Folks, look into your client. They fixed Suyo recently. He deals less damage with a sever, right? So think about that. Suyo used to just be good with everything. Now you have to consider, all right, if the opponent picks the alpha, my Suyo is kind of whatevs. If the opponent picks an Angeling, my Suyo is also just whatevs. So that's why Suyo kind of like mellowed out, is because he became more of an actual tool now. Like, it's kind of just the all solution.
So we'll get into that a little bit more later on, ladies and gentlemen, because I believe our teams are ready. So are you guys ready? Because I think we're going to throw it over to the stage, throw it over to our hosts. Bara, Jasmine, take it away.
Loving the entry here. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as we are here again in Riyadh for another beautiful tournament taking place in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And now, of course, I'm Bara Abdallah along with the amazing, the majestic Yasmin. How are you today?
Thank you very much for that, Bara. You know what? I'm doing absolutely fantastic over here at the IESF World Esports Championship. We've had action, we've had non-stop games, and we've had gamers from around the globe. Over 500 players joining us right here in the beauty that is Riyadh. And let me tell you now, Bara, yesterday concluding with PUBG Mobile, my oh my, Team Turkey walking away with a victory. And who knows, they might be able to do it all over again in Mobile Legends Bang Bang. What do we think?
You got that right. We'll see what's going to happen here, ladies and gentlemen, with MLBB Habibi right here in Riyadh. But it's time to bring on the first match. So, shall we calling for the first team?
Go ahead, Bara, let's do this.
Let's go. So, ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for Team Mongolia.
And hoping to take them down on the very big stage. Please give a very, very warm welcome to Team Indonesia. But $160,000 prize pool on the line here. From 16 teams down to now only 8. Our first 2 teams are ready to go head to head. And I'll tell you 2 other people that I know are ready. And that's our fantastic casters. Take it away.
Let's go.
Guys, thank you so much, Bara. Thank you so much, Jasmine. And once again, we're going straight into our opening match of the day here at WEC 2024. Everything is on the line if they want to continue and make it over to the next stage in their journey here. And guys, are you feeling a little nervous? You know, I'm feeling a little nervous, honestly.
Why?
Why?
I feel calm and excited.
Of course you guys are.
I'm excited. It's a best of 3 that I can just enjoy as a fan.
Yeah.
As a professional commentator, it's just why are you nervous?
I'm okay. I'm okay. It's not like I'm Indonesian or anything.
Yeah, you're Australian, aren't you?
I was born there, so.
Yeah.
No, she actually was.
And,
ladies and gentlemen.
anyway.
She actually was.
Anyway.
We're not joking. You actually were born in Australia, right?
I was.
Yeah,
was.
okay.
She's a true-blooded Sheila.
You can check my passport. Anyway, going back into the topic, guys. Okay, we started off talking about the patch earlier on.
Yeah.
So other than Suyo, what about Chip?
Oh, I'm glad that both of us heard Chip and just went, oh, Chip, right?
No, Chip. Even if the whole airborne situation with
Yeah.
his, punch, with his little chipmunk punch, like
Yeah.
he's still a broken hero. Best believe you will still see 99.9.8% ban on Chip.
Yeah, but the interesting thing is, it's not just a red side ban anymore.
Yeah.
Blue side teams can flex the fact that you can ban Chip in the first phase, and you rattle the red side with like, oh wait, that was supposed to be Chip, and now we gotta ban something out. Now we have to be careful with what we take out with the last ban on the red side, so that we win the 2-pick swing when it comes to the first 2 picks with the red. And that's why teams have actually performing better on the red side
Yep.
here in IESF WEC.
Yep.
Because that 2-pick swing that you pointed out earlier is so good right now with the abundance of options that you can go for.
Yep.
And you know, the difference is massive. Usually we see like maybe a 40-60, like very, very, very small slivers, but this is a 30% win rate on blue side. 30%. This is very different to what we saw in playoffs for MPLID.
Even in the Philippines, even in
changed?
Malaysia, everywhere. No, it's that same. What Reptar's mentioned, what Redmar mentioned. We're working on it.
Yeah, we're working on it.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Renmar.
Renmar.
There you go.
It's the fact that the 2-pick swim is so much more powerful than dictating the pace from 1. Again, we talked about how the Hilda is usually where you see 1. Suyo also is a solid 1. I can't think of anything else that make that 1 worth it. That's why the 2-pick swing is so powerful. You can pick up now again. Edith Valentina is valid again. You can block out the whole cat and mouse situation. You can go Alpha Hylos. You can go Matilda Alpha. Like, oh, these are bad words I'm saying. Like, you're not supposed to put those 2 hero names together in the same side pick.
So we are going to get into the draft. So ladies and gentlemen, for game number 1, just to remind you, this is going to be a best of 3 as we get into it. And it looks like Mongolia is going to be having that first pick. So with the changes in the drafts, okay, we do see that the Gatot Kacha gets banned out here. But what other prio bans are we looking at? Is Chip still on the board? Is Suyo something that we need to look at?
Chip usually now lives in red 1. If Indonesia doesn't touch it, there you go. Likely blue 3 now.
Yeah.
You can also ban out the Matilda. You gotta ban out the Matilda.
Yeah, Matilda Cho is a popular trade right now for the first picks of each side. Sometimes you see Matilda get picked up blue side, and then the other side will pick up a Cho, pair it up with a Khalid or a Gatot, or you go ahead and pick up the best heroes you can pair with a Matilda that like to be aggressive and entry. I'm thinking about the alphas of the world. That's why Suyo has sort of fallen out. It's not always just going to be in the first 3 picks. You can see it come in blue 2, blue 3, or red 3. So with the Gatot Kacha ban, that's usually a signal that the team will be thinking about an Eve in the blue 2 or blue 3. So that might be a pick that's going to be coming in their future that Indonesia might read into, making a Valentina pickup in the first 2 picks possible. And there it is. We were mentioning earlier, Chip is not a red side ban anymore. It's good on the blue side because now it forces your opponent to ban out heroes such as the Matilda.
I reckon Mongolia was double guessing themselves, and that's why it took the whole duration of the countdown for them to go, all right, we'll give the Chip blue 2, so that we don't have to think about it anymore.
Yeah.
So that leaves their 3rd ban open, and there's a Matilda. The aforementioned Matilda, she's so good. She wasn't touched in the patch, was she? The whole airborne thing, but that's it.
That was it.
I think that's it.
Yeah, that's just how good she is right now. Formation breaking is the main descriptor that we go for
And
Matilda.
Formation making.
And
It
making, yeah.
makes so many weird picks just broken. Bane has seen a rise in picks almost single-handedly because of Matilda.
Yeah, and this drafting sequence usually means a Suyo or a Cho might be coming out of the blue side first pick of Mongolia. But knowing that they're up against Indonesia, I will not take it against them to actually contest the Hilda. So it's a very difficult choice actually for Mongolia. What exactly they're going to pick for the first pick? Because whatever they leave open, those are 2 powerful picks already and comforts for Indonesia.
That's what I'm saying. Blue side, that 1 pick anymore to dictate isn't worth it. If anything, that blue 2 chip, that felt like a liability. That felt like, oh man, like, do we really have to? You can see him struggle.
Oh, but we do have a Fanny banned out here by Indonesia in the last spat. Is this a respect ban Fanny for Mongolia?
Yeah, and I'm actually surprised that they would. I think them taking out the Fanny was just them, number 1, respecting it. Number 2, they just make sure that let's just not go up against the Cho anymore.
Yeah, and it's also proactive ban. They don't have to, you don't have to allow to pick the hard lockdown. Fanny is one of those heroes that demand. If you don't have a hard lockdown for this, like a Kaja, a Kufra, or a Cho, forget about it. And their first 2 picks make sense. It's because we want to win these fights, and they want to win both cleanup and setup, even Suyo. So good, like they can just build around this.
So this is exactly what we were talking about even before the draft started, right? The Hilda coming through, we have the Suyo Eve takeaway, and now Mongolia respond with an Alpha as well as a Moskov here. So technically, what are we thinking about that mid lane presence, right? Because we were talking about the Valentina earlier on. Technically, as we get into the second phase, wait a second, that's a 1-1.
Whoa. That's a trademark 1-1.
Yeah, and CW had a stellar performance with the 1-1 when they went up against Egypt. Like less than 5 deaths, more than 10 kills, even double digits in assists if I'm not mistaken. So right now, Indonesia's looking at it in a way that, all right, we pick up the 1-1, we know what are the best options to deal with it. Burst, pick-off type. That right now, if you go something like, you can't, if you go something like Cho, you can answer it. If you go something like Kaja from Mongolia, you can answer that. You have the Eve there as well. That this is just confidence. That this is Indonesia signaling to Mongolia, whatever you pick, even if you decide to go Farsa, forget about it. It's CW on a 1-1 and he'll be comfortable.
Here's the thing though, if we're talking about comfortability, this is a 1-1 pick into a Moskov. Is this a lane that favors the 1-1 or the Moskov?
I haven't played enough 1-1 myself, but I'd like to think that these two are going to leave it to the early game. Like, for sure, they're going to lane. And then eventually, CW is going to want to leave that lane and then leave it to Garu to wait for that perfect hit. Because that's what the Moscow buys for you. And I think that's why Mongolia wins the first phase. Say what you will about their confidence and how they got like these solid pickups and how that mid duo, the jungler and the mid laner, are super strong. But I think overall, like, you have a solid XP laner, a solid gold laner, and then Alpha who wins. Like, I think, am I weird to say this is the best jungler in the game right now?
The Alpha?
Yeah.
It's contested, it's contested.
Okay, but because of those three, I think Mongolia are actually setting the pace. They found a way to win blue.
Yeah. Mirko did throw up his hands just now. He did signal out 50-50 to us in terms of like the lane duel itself.
There you go.
So let's see if Mongolia will be able to pick something that, if it's not in the lane duel, are you going to make it struggle with being able to hit the weakness points in the team fights? That's why we're looking for instant burst.
Forbid Valentina, do it.
Yep. Pick up the, that'll make them very close range, but you would want to steal the real world manipulation. The Akai ban by Indonesia, by the way, is something that we have to talk about. It's a great pickup in the roam, great pickup in the XP. Usually it's the pick that would want to counter something like a Tigreal, but lineups that have a lot of crowd control and want to fight under specific areas will struggle with the presence of an Akai because everything just gets scattered. And Akai is also one of the best EXP laners you want to pick if you want to break team fighting formations and be able to comfortably team fight under a real world manipulation. So there is the Valentina picked up by Forbid, but Ethan the roamer, yes, that's me correcting myself from what I've said earlier, will pick up a Ella, who people have said is will struggle up against the Eve. No, it thrives against the Eve because one heal gives heal and gives you the movement speed to get out of the real world.
It almost undoes the whole ensnaring effect of the borders of the real world manipulation. One more pick here for Indonesia. Still lacking that the pickup on Keyboy. Wait, no. This is a roam, Edith.
Yeah, it went roam.
It's an old flame for Luke. That's Uranus.
Now we're gonna see here because these are two somewhat similar. Is Uranus like magical Hilda now?
That's how you soft counter the Hilda.
Let's see.
That was the big question, right? We've talked about how predominant that the Hilda has become in the EXP lane. The big question is, how do you counter it in the lane? Would you see the Uranus being picked up? We're gonna see if it actually works out. But overall, analysts, what do we think about the drafts?
All right, so this boils down to the Valentina getting the right ultimate, the Primal Wrath of the Edith, because the damage profile right now, outside of the true damage of the Alpha of Mongolia, is not enough for this Uranus. The Uranus pickup might have just been really great to make Mongolia struggle, Indonesia.
Here's my take. Ignore the Uranus.
That's
it. Ignore Uranus, and then you win everywhere else. I'm confident. I don't know why, but I feel good for Mongolia today.
So Mongolia for Leo?
Yes.
What about you, Reptar Renmar?
I mean, I did say Indonesia, so you, the Australian, you're the tiebreaker right now.
I can't. I'm a Descos. I have to remain neutral.
Oh, come on!
So we're gonna ask the casters. Naisu, Mirko, what do you guys think about the drafts?
Thanks so much, guys. Thinking about the draft here, one thing's for sure, we learned that Hilda's hot, peanut butter, and
super
cats. Super hot. She was first pick.
Duh, password wiwinya apa ya? Password wiwi?
Lapar.
Bikin belibet.
Waktunya Gary Marquez keju. Ledahan keju Prancis, renyah Marqueznya. Makan double, lebih kenyang. Lapar. Waktunya Gary.
I think Mongolia has the upper hand here, like Leo mentioned.
It really comes down to how they utilize the Uranus, I feel, because for the Uranus, we haven't really seen this, and I'm not too sure if the Uranus is going to go for the Revitalize in the current meta with a lot of other, XP laners, Hylos, Gatot Kacha also going for the Revitalize. Leo did mention that it is a way to technically just match up against the Hilda. I think, though, for Mongolia, it really comes down to the Alpha. I think that's the key right here. If they're able to kite back and forth and choose when to get the Spear of Alpha right, they're going to have a lot of advantages to play with around the neutral objectives.
That's one thing is great, again, as someone who has always loved Alpha as a hero, playing him. He's been shining through the meta that we are in right now, and I would almost arguably say that, yeah, he is probably, based on how many lineups he can fit, he's probably one of the best, if not the best, jungler heroes you can bring to the current play and the current meta. And what we're seeing is such a shift, where, again, it's developed. Even, man, when you think about it, we've been a part of this since the online qualifiers for everything. Think how much has changed, actually, from that when we did our first online qualifiers for this whole run leading up to the WEC.
Depends which qualifiers, right? Because some qualifiers, we don't even follow the meta. They make their own meta.
They make their own.
I remember the African qualifiers, amazing time there with the Yin Roam.
And
I've actually heard some coaches behind the scenes talk about the Yin XP as a way to deal with a lot of these junglers who need to fight, need to brawl it out. Sort of like the Alpha, the Suyos, who really need to go for the contested neutral objective. So, who knows? Maybe we'll see more surprises. We've already seen one here in the playoff with the Uranus walking in. And I just have to say, Naisu, if this Uranus pick works with Revitalize, Mr. Wrecked is ahead of his time. He picked this up in Season 11, I think. And when he picked it up, everybody was trashing him, saying, bro, what is he doing? Maybe he was just ahead of the time. Maybe he knows in 2 years it'll be meta. It'll be good.
It's called...
foresight.
I was gonna say, that's foresight. That's thinking ahead, man. At this point, and it's like they mentioned over on the panelist stand. They're like, if you want the best way to win this game, if you're Mongolia, really is also, just ignore the Uranus, because the problem is, and especially we're just gonna assume it is a Revitalize because that's typically what we see here right now. You're not gonna kill him. Like, even without the Revitalize, he's already almost unkillable. And obviously he's gonna be utilizing the fact that he is so tanky is the whole macro of the game. Now, when we talk about like macro, the way that this has fallen into place right now is, I'm not gonna call it. It is kind of a brawl, actually. So whether
the brawl server,
the brawl server, I think you were quoted for that, right? But like the way you look at it is, you can still, even if you're brawling it out and you're fighting all these early skirmishes, some teams even go as far as like just ignore these objectives. Like, don't worry about it too much. We're just gonna win these fights and just kind of brute force our way in. To now where you see like, all right, if you have a pick, a hero, for example, that is Uranus, I mean, you're not really going to be joining these fights, right? Unless you're just that stalwart, you're that bulwark for these skirmishes. But you're going to be playing the map, cutting some waves, proxying those waves if you want to. And then eventually, again, Revitalize alone, it's not only good for him fights, like that's good enough to go ahead and help things out. So as you guys can see, we are going to be talking a little bit more about the matchup while they go ahead and get things situated for us. It is our first time also today that we have moved the players. Now we are on the page, I believe it is, which you guys saw the backdrop, of our panel area and everything else. So I can't wait to see this happen. I know there's other matches going on right now too, just like the panel mentioned. So again, if you guys want to stay up to date to everything, head over to IESF.gg. There's 4 quarterfinal matches happening right now.
Then 2 semifinals.
And 2 semifinals. So definitely keep an eye. I know a lot of people are going to be watching the other matches too and want to see the updates, because this is tough, man. I would say we're in a position now where, I know we had last year over in the WC 23, that was in Yash, Romania, where Philippines won that. At this point, I'm not sure, because we spend so much time talking about meta, for example, and it's because it really does kind of paint the picture of what teams are going to shine. And I would say that there are, even being one of them, like the panel mentioned, that can shine with the current state of the game.
Sure, again, it's a very, very aggressive meta, so whoever gets control over the early to mid, usually they just end the game in, 12 minutes, 10 minutes?
Before 15.
Seeing super fast games. And I'm not even just talking about, obviously, the games where you would favor one team over the other. I'm talking about the 50-50 game, too. A lot of these games go 10 minutes, 12 minutes. We don't get to see the Evolve Lord in a lot of these matches. So for Mongolia, that's kind of their style for the longest time. Yep, they do take quite a while. Once they get the download, they play in the early game so well. And I think here, unfortunately, I think you brought it up as well, the fact that a lot of teams can go for trades. A lot of teams can actually let go and sacrifice the first few neutral objectives to play for the mid game, to play for the late game. But knowing how both of these compositions were set up, I find it hard to believe that they're going to actually look for trades. Both compositions are really to go for neutral objectives, to fight for neutral. The out-sustain kind of deal with the Rafaela. They have crazy initiation with the Alpha, a lot of damage with the Holy game. But yeah, like you mentioned, you want to try to ignore the Uranus. Now, my question is, I think it's easier said than done, is it not? For
it is.
Uranus to be ignored in the early game.
Because he's just there. Like.
Yeah, and the Valentina can't kill him, the Hilda can't kill him. The Alpha is the only one that can really shred through the Uranus. But again, like we mentioned, Mongolia's composition really depends on the Alpha. If the Alpha goes in, let's say Zixora pops in the Spear of Alpha to Uranus, Indonesia have already won that fight. Yeah,
and you know, I know they're up against a formidable opponent here in Indonesia, but man, you and I have seen this squad of from Mongolia. Like they're, you know, under different banners.
Lil Gun, when they were called HC.
Exactly, and even back before when we first, I would say the world got their first preview of them back in the Asian Championships last year for IESF. And so I feel like if you've been watching competitive MLBB esports for a while and you've seen these names from Mongolia, you know that they have developed quite a bit, you know, from that first preview that a lot of people got last year from them. And even with the change that they've had, they can make things work for them. And again, they have to make it work against a team like Indonesia. So we did get word, guys. We are going to be taking a short break here while they go ahead and set things up for this first match. So sit tight. We'll be back after the break.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're landing in Riyadh is the World Esports Championship.
In a world where victories can be measured in gold and silver, some things are priceless.
Expected, and it is Baron will find him. Can shine for one with a quick trade from Impulse.
Some things are not bought with money.
The base is too open. Now Philippines is now taking the base of Indonesia. Remember their name.
The feeling of standing alongside your fellow countrymen, the emotion, the home crowd, the weight of a whole nation on your shoulders.
Sometimes I get emotional by the fact that I got chosen to be one of the representatives of my country. And yeah, it's just a dream, honestly.
Here it's not just about the game, it's about the pride that unites us. Every match tells a story.
He needs to some missed shots. Sound picking up another one, another headshot. No way! 4 kills! What has happened?
From every corner of the globe. All eyes on WEC 24.
Early 1970s, the world was discovering the boundless possibilities of esports. While esports offered endless enjoyment and addictive allure, it lacked a certain depth and a sense of purpose. It needed something more, something larger than a trophy, something beyond individual gratification. That's when a vision emerged. A vision of uniting the world through esports. The International Esports Federation and the World Esports Champion. Its mission was clear: to create a stage where nations could unite and compete for the ultimate title, World Esports Champion. For these athletes and nations, the World Esports Championship was more than just a competition, more than just a game. A chance to make history, to leave a lasting legacy, to inspire a generation, and to represent their nation. Over the years, IESF started achieving greatness, year by year. Korea, Indonesia, Israel, Romania, worldwide. The World Esports capital changed, each year expanding significantly. Fast forward 15 years, IESF was determined to show the world the most valuable World Esports Championship. 104 in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. The WEC 24 story. 2024. Saudi Arabia prepares to host the 16th World Esports Championship after a spectacle made in Iași, Romania by IESF for WEC 23. New president, new challenges, and quite a bumpy road ahead. As the calendar turned to January, the national qualifiers took place.